Yo, what's up, chat? We back on some One Piece Bounty Rush, and today I'll be replying to a request that a viewer made, right? He was asking, what kind of medals, or how do you pick what medals you use for specific units? And to that, I'll answer that you have to check the unit traits, what class the unit is, how tanky they are, how much damage they do, etc. etc. It can be a tad bit complicated, but once you get the grasp of it, you will master the aspects, right? For example, Kuzan here. Kuzan gets a boatload of skill 2 cooldown from his traits, and I'll show you later if you want. So I use the Kaido set. That gives him skill 1 cooldowns too. So once he spams his skills enough, he's basically gonna get back everything almost immediately, right? And even if he does start getting a bunch of hits from the toxic, I legitimately despise that unit. If Kizaru starts spamming his lasers, you're just gonna get your skill 1 back almost immediately. If somebody caps the flag, you get your skill 2. The set just helps him out that much. But as for the trait, he basically gets 15% more skill 2 cooldown if you attack somebody capturing a flag. And he also reduces their dodge timing, especially if you use skills. So if they're a runner, like say Dark Roger or something, they're definitely gonna just get frozen and just screwed over. It's primarily the reason why Dark Roger fell out of the meta, along with S Snake. But yeah, so for units like this that lack skill 1 cooldown, you run sets like Kaido on them. But if they don't lack skill 1 cooldown, you're gonna have to try and find a skill 2 cooldown set, which I'm gonna recommend to be a set using 3 Odin medals, because Odin's medals mostly focuses on skill 2. But I don't really have any sets like that on me, so I can't really show you. And it's kind of sad because skill 2 cooldowns is the best for Lucci, and because I don't have Odin sets, I can't bring out Lucci's full potential, because Lucci is more focused on using his invincible skills and the skill to just move at a far distance. But back to the main point. Next up is for attackers, right? I'm gonna use Akainu as a perfect case, because this guy, unlike Kuzan, gets cooldowns for both skills in his traits. So he can basically just spam everything. If somebody nullifies status effects, he's gonna be able to spam his skill 2. Alright? If somebody, like say, how do I put this, dies, or you get a chain kill, because of the low cooldown of skill 1, you're basically gonna get that back immediately. So it's not necessary to use medals like the Kaido set unless you really want to spam skills that much more. So for units like Akainu here, that basically gets a boatload of skill cooldowns from both skills regardless, so if skill 2 and skill 1 is spammable, you're gonna be running sets more like the Boa, the triple Boa set, because that set has a lot of attacking traits, so it's good for attackers that just want to do pure raw damage that don't really need skill cooldown. So you can run the Boa set, and most impressively, the Dressrosa attacker set, right? Most people don't have the Lucy medal, unfortunately, and if you're not paid to win, you're not gonna get it unless they give it away for free like they've been doing recently. But if you're not paid to win, you are never going to get that Lucy medal. So the Lucy set will always be incomplete for you. But worry not, right? Worry not. You can just use another Luffy medal with pretty much just 1 tag missing. Make sure that it's only 1 tag missing and it has damage traits, and you'll be fine. The recommended one is 2 years later Luffy. So you can use that as a replacement to the Lucy medal. But this set is the most busted set for attackers that don't need skill cooldown. Next up that I'm gonna be talking about is units like Zoro. Squishy as heck. So for the latest EX Zoro buff, they buffed his damage, which I will give them props for. but they nerfed his entire set. I've seen people running around on the internet defending this buff, glazing Bandai and being like footstools for them. And I'll tell you it plain and simple. This buff was a nerf, right? Or rather balancing. It's better to say balancing because they did buff his damage and I cannot deny that. But they basically nerfed this man. And I'll explain why. It's this trash trait that's at the top, at the very top, that messes him over, bro. It gives him 1% of his HP as a revival trait if he kind of like it's too specific, if you get what I'm saying. He has to have 20% HP for it to activate. If like say Zoro has 10,000 HP and he has 2,000 and you do an attack that has 2,000 damage, it's gonna bring him back with 200 HP instead of killing him. But that's where the problem comes in. If you use a multi-hit skill that doesn't down them, he's just gonna die immediately. And units like even Kizaru, because they don't have a silly 1% trait, which I don't understand why they thought Zoro would have been too broken if they simply just let him keep damage reduction against elements. All elements, by the way. It wasn't just the weakest element at one point. That's what made Zoro shine back in the day, because he was so tanky, but now they made him squishy, very squishy. So for units like those, man, just use sets to do as much damage as possible, because making him a more survival unit is just not worth it. What you're gonna be aiming to do is just do as much damage as possible with the guy to just immediately kill your enemy. So just run sets like the previous sets that I mentioned for Akainu, the Lucy set and the Boa set. Anything else, not worth it. But for EX Gear 5 Luffy V2 or Yonko Luffy, this guy is stupidly broken. But for him, you see, because he when he transforms to giant form, he gains like this extra attack increase, and he takes damage based on his attack instead of defense. You won't be running defense on this guy at all. For units like these that take damage from attack instead of defense, you're gonna want to ignore putting medals on them that buff defense, because he only gets defense in his base form, which barely any Gear 5 user uses. So run the more impressive stuff, right? So what you're gonna be doing is using a set like I'm using that prioritizes attack and HP, and I'm using the Wano Luffy set, particularly the Defender Destroyer one, to handle units like S-Snake faster and Defender Kuzon or EX Kuzon. Yeah, but if y'all want to see the traits, I'll show you real quick. It's just a boatload of damage and 1 damage reduction medal, because I couldn't really find anything else to put with them. But yeah, it's tough, very tough. Before I leave, the most important thing to take away from this video is that you read your unit's traits, see what you're missing out on, find medals that compensate that, and slap it on them to like fix their biggest weakness. Except for glass cannons like Zoro, fixing his weakness just won't really do much, and you're just gonna be wasting all of those resources for basically nothing. If he's a glass cannon, just playing as a glass cannon, do as much damage as possible. Run those damage sets. That's about all I have to say for this yapping session. Thanks for tuning in. See you later. God bless. Peace out.